have to do, the better.
Okay.
People are getting lazy. They generally won't. They can't be bothered to read anymore. So yeah, it's generally visual. And the mistake everybody makes at the moment is most people will have a careers page with reams and reams and reams and reams of words on it, and maybe one or two little pictures on it. But people read the first paragraph and then disengage. So they're trying their very hardest to write down everything that they think is good, but actually less. I'm sure Lindsay will probably touch on some of this in a minute, but less is more. Just having somebody in a short video format telling the story, super powerful. So.
All right, thank you so much. Let's have Lindsay now. I hope, Lindsay, can you hear us? Lindsay? Lindsay, are you with us?
Can't get your audio, unfortunately, again, Lindsay.
Lindsay? Lindsay, are you with us?
No, not getting you, unfortunately. You're not on mute. When you logged back in, we were hearing the first few seconds of you, but it kept dropping out, unfortunately.
Okay, whilst we're waiting for Lindsay to come back, because a lot of areas you've touched on, David. Now, how do you go about to build a story that attract top talent? Again, I don't know, because we are startups. I just like to kind of like, kind of like use startup, but also from an established, organization. How do you go about building a story that attracts top talent?
Yeah. So I think it's important, first of all, to understand who you're competing against. So the mistake sometimes organizations make is they kind of go, right, okay, we're going to do a bit of research. We found out all the things that we think make us really good, and then we'll go out and tell them. But quite often you'll find that's exactly the same as what somebody else has said. We kind of advise that you do some competitor research, first of all, understand what your competitors are saying, just to make sure you don't say the same thing. After that, we then say, all right, let's now talk to our people, understand what makes them, what makes them tick, what they love about working in this place. And we build out our 4 or 5 stories that will kind of bring that to life. So we want to get a cross-section of people in the organization. So we might have people who work out in the yard. We might have people who work in a distribution hub. We might have people who work in head office. We might have people who work in a sales team. We want to get a representative view from all of them. So we do that through focus groups, getting people in a room and sitting them down and talking to them. You can also glean quite a lot of information from you might run an engagement survey. And if you do, you can probably take quite a bit of data from that to support as well. So you want to do a mix of kind of quantitative and qualitative data. Once you've got that, you can start to look at that data and go, do you know what? Everybody here seem to say, or the majority of people here seem to say what they like about the place is X. You start to see the patterns emerge pretty quickly. People like the culture, the friendliness, the warmth. They like the way we do business, the efficiency of the business. Whatever it is, you'll start to see those patterns emerging pretty quickly. So you can kind of say, right, there's 3 or 4 things absolutely that make us unique. Once you've got those 3 or 4 things and you've put them down into your employer value proposition framework, you can then bring that to life with your kind of creative. Now, you might want to get your own marketing team to work on this with you, or you might want to outsource this bit to an agency to get some help, but they will kind of help you create something which looks really good. They will kind of help you with photography, because you really want real people photography, not stock images. They will help you with film if it's required. They'll help you with the words, So you can use your internal resources, or as I said, use an agency, but it needs to look good. And once we've got that in place, we can create what we call our little playbook, which is our kind of brand guidelines, if you like, saying these are the 4 stories we're going to tell. This is what they're going to look like. And then you can start kind of getting that content produced. Great. Okay. So one of our strongest stories we've decided is about the warmth of our culture. Brilliant. Okay. Well, who's going to tell us about that? Okay. Well, let's go out to the business and find some people who really embody that and film them and get that story ready. And then once we've got that, we can start using that content in lots and lots of different places. We can put it on our careers site. We can make sure our careers pages look great. We can be making a blog about it. We can be putting little snippets of it onto our social media pages. So you want to make sure that you've got all of those things set up. You have your social media pages ready for content. You have got your Glassdoor page all set up. You've got your LinkedIn page all set up. And then you're able to take it to market. Then you can have a look at, all right, who exactly are we trying to speak to? Is it finance professionals or is it production people? Start making decisions on where to be speaking based on the profile of the people that you want to speak to. So rather than just chucking it all on a job board, because job boards don't really work particularly well anymore anyway, you're saying, no, actually what we want to be doing is putting our jobs and our stories on, what do we have? We want apprentices. Right. Okay, well, we should be on TikTok then. So we need to be able to produce the right content for young people, or no, we need a more professional, we need solicitors. Okay, well, we should be on LinkedIn. We should be telling the stories on LinkedIn. So you can start shaping the content for those channels that are correct and right for those audiences. And then, as we said, you start measuring, you start saying, all right, well, this is what we should be seeing lots and lots of people either applying for our jobs or coming to us and saying, okay, you haven't got the right job for me at the moment, but I'd really like to stay in touch. And you can start communicating with those people. So it's kind of opening up the funnel, if you like, rather than just people who are applying for a job. Now, it's people who are seeing your storytelling and saying, I'd like to be part of your business in the future. I'll sign up for your newsletter. I'll be part of your talent pool. You can start communicating with those people over time. So hopefully, if you follow that process, you'll start to get the right kind of people coming to you rather than you having to go out to market every time that you've got a job, and trying to tell that story all over again, basically.
All right. Brilliant. I think we've lost Lindsay there. So David, I'm afraid we'll have to just continue with you.
Okay, so I haven't seen Lindsay's slides at all, so unfortunately I can't actually talk about what she was talking about.
So yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we'll if something that you're happy to go through quickly, we're happy to kind of like share that with you because she did share it with us. Is that okay? Okay. I think the team will get that done now. Yeah. So the other aspect, we want us to look at is the work culture as an employer brand element. Because I think you went through that. Because it's so important that sometimes people don't just kind of like want to work for any employer these days, especially the Jay-Z, what is it called, Jay-Z? They call it JZ or Generation Z or so. They kind of like have their own, different way of wanting to do things.
Yeah.
So I just want you to kind of just explain on, just talk about the work culture as an employer brand element, when it comes to also attracting, top talent or attracting, people, or even the culture itself within the organization as part of the employer branding.
Yeah. Do you want me to do this from Lindsay's slides, or do you want me to talk about it?
Yeah, you can just talk about it.
Just talk about it. Yeah. So culture is a massive part of employer brand. It's, but also it can be quite intangible. So it's something that we're trying to get across. That's sometimes not that easy to put into words, or if you do put it into simple words, it can come across as a bit of a platitude. So if you kind of say our culture is friendly or accepting or warm, they sound great, but actually that's what everybody says, and they can sound a little bit meaningless in isolation. So showing your culture is so important in employer branding, not just talking about it, but showing it. showing interviews with people, trying to show realistic day in the life of videos, for example, is a great way of sharing what your culture's like. But the more insight that you can give into your culture, the more of that kind of differentiating we're going to achieve. Again, as we were saying before, we've kind of moved away from being just transactional. I don't care about the culture of the organization. I just care about the salary and the benefits. We're far more tuned into what's it really feel like to work there. So the more you can bring this to life and the more you can show it and evidence it, is really, really beneficial. So if you've won awards, for example, for best companies or something like that, if you have investors in people, if you've won awards for any kind of ED&I activities, for example, then that's really helpful to validate the culture and show that you have a strong culture. If you have an engagement survey that you've seen had particularly strong results, say like, yes, 80% of our people completed our engagement survey, that again is kind of good evidence that you've got a strong culture. But really, again, it's that employer storytelling, real people telling real stories about the culture. How have you found it? And if you can find stories that are really human, for example, stories about flexibility, for example, rather than just saying we're a flexible employer. If you have someone who's saying, okay, I've got 2 kids, running my life was really, really difficult. I've got to get them to nursery and then I've got to go and get them to school. But working with Organisation X, they've helped me work around that. They've been supportive in the way we do things. It really does help to embed that culture through realistic storytelling, basically. So, but essentially, culture is the thing that differentiates the organisation, because you probably pay more or less the same as your competitors. You probably offer the same amount of holidays, but what it feels like to be there and what the culture is like is the thing that really differentiates you. So it's very important.
Thank you, David. I don't know if you received the Lindsay's. Have you received Lindsay's slide here? Okay. If you haven't received it,
then I've got them.
Yeah, we can just go through this so that, and then we give opportunity to people to ask questions. Now, the other questions here is how to integrate social values into your employer brand. Because a lot of the time, because these days, especially with social media and it's so important to kind of like have some sort of social value and how you can sort of you kind of integrate that into your employer brand. Is this something you would want to kind of like, I know this is something Lindsay should have spoken about.
That's okay. If you just allow me to share, I've got Lindsay's slides now. I've never seen these slides before, so I'm just going to kind of give you my interpretation of what she was talking about, but I'll give it my best shot.
So, I will stop sharing if you want to share that, so that it helps. We do apologize. Again, Lindsay unfortunately had to leave us. I would think she was having internet challenge or difficulties.
Okay, I just need to go. Okay. Okay. So social values and employer branding. So Lindsay was going to talk to you about social values embodying your work culture. So the ethical values of an organization matter to employees as much as they matter to consumers. So if you have things in your